Arizona Global. With my co-host Kelly Wood, we're pleased to welcome you to this Culture of Care session titled Mindful Mastery, Stress-Proofing Your Corporate Grind. Our next presenter brings a rare and powerful combination of experience to the stage today, one shaped by service, leadership, and a genuine belief that people are worth investing in. Please welcome Troy Ellis, a certified safety professional with extensive hands-on experience in the oil and gas industry, spanning well stimulation, production, and workover operations. Before entering the energy sector, Troy served in law enforcement in the early 2000s, an experience that shaped his understanding of high-pressure decision-making, accountability, and what it truly means to show up for others. That foundation of service has never left him. Throughout his career, Troy has been as much a coach as he has been a leader. He is a strong believer in servant leadership, the idea that the best leaders exist to lift others up, not the other way around. He has dedicated himself to mentoring his direct reports, investing in their growth, and creating environments where people feel supported enough to do their best work. At his core, Troy simply wants to see people succeed. Troy holds a bachelor's degree in operational management and a Master of Arts in psychology. He's currently a PhD candidate in the Sports and Performance Psychology program at the University of Arizona Global Campus, where his research focuses on resilience, well-being, and high-performance teams, themes that run through everything he does. This morning, Troy will share his session, Mindful Mastery, Stress-Proofing Your Corporate Grind, a practical evidence-based session on how mindfulness can help each of us manage stress, sharpen our focus, and show up better for ourselves and the people we lead. Please join me in welcoming Troy Ellis.
Hi, well, I've never heard it put quite like that. I don't know that I can live up to that bio. I still feel like an imposter at times. But first of all, thanks for being here and giving up some of your morning. This is a passion for me. I've started diving into a lot of the mindfulness and stress proofing, even in the workover and oil and gas industry. Just how you'll find it relates quite a bit to the corporate grind because I do share some corporate duties as well. But you know, as a certified safety professional with this background, I know people have got to be thinking, you know, that's an odd connection, right? That really what connects those two things. But over the years, I've seen how the stress and mental state can affect safety and performance in these high demand environments that we're asked to perform to in every day. And not from a spa day perspective, I think that we all hear mindfulness and meditation and imagery, and we start thinking spa day, but not from that perspective. But how do we actually perform better under stress and anxiety better? How do we, actually execute our job better? And so my goal is for everyone to leave here with at least one thing you can actually use tomorrow morning or even today. So get my screen here to where it'll move the PowerPoints. The roadmap for our time together today will build logically from why does this matter to here's how you do it today. And we'll touch on the science because it's not just feel good talk. There's science behind it, and there's real research behind it. And then we'll actually practice a couple of techniques together. And then we'll close with a personal planning piece, kind of self-accountability piece, right? And I've got some questions kind of pre-built in here to kind of stimulate that conversation. So basically here is, what to expect from today. It's going to be interactive. I don't want to talk at you guys. I don't really think it's a typical Teams or a Zoom meeting where somebody's talking. I want us to take this journey together because we are at a Culture of Care conference. And I think the framing is really, really important because caring for ourselves, it's not just a luxury. It's really foundational, right? We have to grow as we go. And when we're chronically stressed, it doesn't just affect how we feel, it affects our judgment, a lot of times our reactions. And in high stakes environments, it can lead to real incidents. There's what we call SIF events, serious incident fatalities in the oil field. And I think a lot of that is complacency. And I think some of that too could be reset by mindfulness as I'm actually starting to test out in the oil field. But think about it, think about the last time you were overwhelmed, what did you do? What caused you to lose that focus? What did it impact on with your teammates, or are your relationships with your bosses, subordinates, direct reports. That's exactly what we're addressing today. By the end, I hope that you've moved a little bit from that phase to a relaxed one, or even have a plan to get there. That's the biggest one. Kind of going from this guy, moving to this guy. That's kind of the goal. That's where we really want to be. And so I'll skip this slide. I think I don't even have a response to Nicola's introduction to me. So kind of already went through that. We'll jump right in it as what is mindfulness at work? Okay. So what actually is mindfulness? The simplest definition I know is paying attention to the present moment on purpose without judgment. That's it. I mean, can't sugarcoat it any more than that. But notice what that definition doesn't say. It doesn't say you have to sit cross-legged in a dark room, burn incense, and empty your mind. That's a misconception that keeps a lot of people, especially in our line of work or in professional settings, from trying it. It can be formal, of course. It can be formal, like a meditation practice, or completely informal, like just being present in a moment, having a discussion with a colleague without thinking about checking emails or your next meeting or your list of things to do. And sometimes that's really tough. That's why it takes a lot of practice to get engaged on that. But what it builds over time is it allows us to be more self-aware and regulate our emotions a little better, which are honestly two of the most valuable skills, we can develop as professionals. And the research backs it up, and it's been done in clinical and workplace environments. The science, you know, oh, I didn't change screens. I'm sorry, guys. My first mistake of the day. But jump into the science, what makes it really work. Does anybody want me to go back and cover anything? Because I can't see the chat. We good?
Yeah,
Okay,
you're
thank
good.
you. Okay, thank you. So jump into the science, why it works. Okay, I want to give you the science piece because this kind of gives you credibility too for both yourself and if you ever want to present this too for something in the organizations you're a part of, it gives you foundational information to give them and stuff. And so that really adds a lot of credibility because mindfulness reduces the perceived stress and anxiety and it also reduces the burnout effect. I mean, we've all been there, right? We've checked out Friday and we're ready for the weekend and we're burned out. We're done. So it improves sleep, focus, and communication. And physically, this is going to be kind of a kicker. And I was skeptical until I really started doing it, but it can lower your blood pressure and your heart rate. I actually was able to lower mine the other day on purpose by 15 beats per minute. And I was like, wow, this really works. So it's really helpful. But one thing that really kind of resonates with me is even the brief regular practice. A brief regular practice is effective. You don't need an hour a day. You don't need a ton of time, but 2 minutes done consistently beats 30 minutes done once in a while, right? So just make sure it's consistent. And especially for people in high stress, high risk jobs, the physical and cognitive demands of those roles make stress management not a nice to have, but really a safety issue. We call this fit for duty in oil and gas. People showing up to work, we don't know what kind of things are going on in their life, and so we have a mental check-in in the morning before we have our safety meetings and stuff like that. And so with a digitally dominated technology right now, with all of the new AI stuff, I think it bears noting on the digital part of it. You know, there's a lot of technology and they're not enemies with one another. You can use apps like Calm, Headspace, and Heyzen can generally help you build and maintain a practice. But there is a caution with it, as it says right there, and the research calls it the tipping point. You don't become too reliable on a device or an app to guide every moment of mindfulness. You can actually start to reduce your own self-awareness, which is kind of going the other way. The goal is ultimately to use these skills internally and not outsource them. We got to really own this one because it's important for our own health. But think of it as training wheels. We all started out, or in most cases, started out with training wheels. So just something to get you started, and help you be consistent. The real win is when you take a mindful breath before a tough meeting, and eating without your phone, right? So I did that today before the meeting. I think we always worry about our peers on the other side of these meetings sometimes. So it can get a little stressful at times, to say the least. So here's the first core practice I've got. I mean, this is we're gonna do this together, and I'm gonna walk you through the first practice, and yeah, we're gonna do it right now. This is the simplest thing in the world. Slow, deep breaths for 2 minutes. That's it. It's really, really simple. And what you're doing basically physiologically is you're activating your body's relaxation response. It's think of it like resetting a breaker in your home or a plug in the bathroom or whatever. Just think about it like that. We're resetting that. And what's happening is you're reducing the cortisol flooding your body. And so there's something called respiratory sinus arrhythmia enhancement, which basically means your heart rate variability actually improves, which is a key marker of resilience. And I do this a lot too, especially since I just had two hip replacements and I'm actually trying to get back into the workout grind again. So I've got to motivate myself to create that habit again. But what we'll do is we're going to do this for 2 minutes. I'm going to set a timer. And of course, my timer disappeared that I already had set up. And then we're just going to box breathe. That's what it's called. 2 minutes, slow breathing. You close your eyes, breathe in for 4 counts, hold for two, out for six. You can do 4 by 4 by 4, which is what I do. Breathe in four, hold it for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds, and then hold that, and then just start the process over again. It's just 2 minutes. All right. So I'm going to start my timer right now. All right. Time's up. All right, now this is where I need your feedback. What do you guys think? How do you feel? Did did anybody come down a little bit? Yeah, thumbs up. Good stuff. I have to more relaxed. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, hear all the birds. That's pretty cool. I noticed that the other day. I was at a friend's house and there was nothing going on, and I said, "You hear that?" He said, "What?" He asked me what, and I said, "Nothing." It was awesome. So good. That's good information, man. I appreciate you guys indulging me on that. And what we'll do is let's go to the next one. Let's try this one out. This one here, I use this a lot. Visualization, right? It's one I find really powerful, especially in the corporate setting, because it directly addresses how we show up in difficult situations, or really in any situation. I mean, you can use it and adapt it to your your grind. I mean, everybody here is different. You're going to have different settings, and it is super hyper adaptable. It is awesome, and it's simple. It's really simple, and it is as simple as it sounds. It's before any type of a challenging conversation or meeting, or just a general meeting. If we're really stressing how it's going to play out, you can take a moment, mentally picture yourself responding thoughtfully rather than reactively. You're basically rehearsing the calm. And you think about the difference between thoughtful and reactive. We've all been in the reactive mode and said something in the heat of the moment we regretted, or looked at somebody we were with and said, "Man, did I just say that out loud?" And we regretted it because we do that. I've done it. I still struggle with this. I still have to remember to do this one. But it's one tool that can really help break that pattern. And I'll use this before challenging conversations. I've had a relationship with most of the people that I've worked with for years. I know their behavior patterns and how they respond to most things. So I will use this a lot before I send an email because I already know how to answer it. I already know the questions that they want, and I'll visualize that before I enter a room. But think about an upcoming stressful situation at work. Take your one deep breath and visualize responding with calm, clarity, and a purpose. Right? Make sure it's productive instead of counterproductive. But that's what I mean, and then the same applies to this with the breathing. You can have this visualization in your mind while you're doing your box breathing. So these really, for all intents purposes, can be combined really, really effectively. Mindfulness into your day. This is probably the meat and potatoes, right? This is the one I still struggle with this. I work on it every day to try to be a better employee, parent, husband. when I come home. So how do we actually make this stick? That's the real question, right? Because we all know that things that are good for us that we don't do, right? We already know that. Everybody's telling us that all the time. But the key concept here is I call this intentional work pauses. Three natural moments in your day. You've got before meetings, breaks, after work. Use those opportunities as a mental check-in. I'm sure we've participated on multiple teams with multiple scopes of work. And a lot of times it requires us to do a mental check-in before we shift gears and go from a completely different scope of work to a completely different scope of work. I mean, I do this every day. I'm on like 4 or 5 different teams. In fact, I've forgotten some of the teams I'm on until I get a reminder that I'm supposed to be in a meeting. And so that's when I really have to go, okay, mindfulness moment. But these are anchor points where you build the habit. Like use your existing structure, use your calendar blocks, phone reminders, whatever you already have in place for your day. Just attach 2 minutes of mindfulness to something you're already doing. I asked the vice president I work for Devon Energy, and I asked him one time, he had in his schedule a bathroom break. Like I went to put him on a meeting and I was like, you got to tell me about this. And he goes, that's the only time I have to myself. I take a mindfulness moment. And I thought, okay, well, that's a unique way to label it, but whatever works, right? Whatever works for you. And the most important thing is the consistency beats duration. I mean, 2 minutes a day is way more powerful than 20 minutes once a week. Don't wait until you have the perfect block because the perfect block won't come. It rarely does. We just keep going. And this is what I was talking about earlier, the personal action plan. The action piece is I want you to take a minute with this one and actually think about your own situation, not a hypothetical, but step one, reflect. When do you feel most stressed at work? Is it Monday mornings before performance reviews, back-to-back meetings? Get specific. Mine on reflecting is when my team's message is going off, the phone's ringing, and everybody wants an answer through email right now, and that can be a little overwhelming at times. And then step two, identify. Pick one practice from today. Just pick one. Just start small, right? The breathing, the visualization. Commit to trying it once a day. And then step three, set a simple, realistic goal for the next 7 days. It doesn't have to be a life overhaul or contact a life coach for this one. Just something small, baby steps, right? And that's I always tell my the guys that work for me. We got to take baby steps. But in my own experience, I found that when I'm dealing with challenging work duties, the most effective reset I have is the walk, reflect, and pause. I mean, it sounds simple because it really is in its basic form. I mean, it's really great. I use this one especially if I'm about to go into my daughter's room and I know it's already a catastrophe about what I'm walking into. And so that helps me react like a parent instead of a barbarian at times. But and then, like I said before, here's some things. Most of these are free apps to begin with, right? And of course, like anything else, you can update these and pay for extra stuff. But as I mentioned before, don't try not to rely on these for the most part because the research shows that we could get a really hooked to these really easily. We want it to be more internal driven. So some key takeaways, I know that's short because it really is simple, but 3 things to remember. Mindfulness is practical and effective for our stress environment. I mean, it works. It's not soft science. It is backed by research and clinical and workplace settings. I got a ton of references in there. You guys are more than welcome to dig into and read over when you have time. I know that's what I like to do, read medical journals and stuff like that when I have free time, right? Second, brief practice improves well-being and performance. The bar is really, really low. 2 minutes a day. I mean, hopefully we can spare that at the start, and third, consistency is the key. Start small. A small habit done consistently creates a big impact. I mean, begin small and you got a big impact, for the most part. And so, like I was telling you guys earlier, I did create some help with some poll questions just to kind of get us thinking, which intentional work pause are you most likely to implement tomorrow? I mean, I would love to see the feedback in the chat. I can't check it right away, but A, B, C, or D, the pre-meeting reset during breaks, the end of the day, mental check-in using an app, what works best for you? We do the pre-meeting reset every day. We were having a rash of incidents because of the type of work I'm in, and the pre-meeting, I called it a mental check-in. I'm sure the guys aren't doing the 2 minutes, obviously, just because they're impatient, but it's reduced our incidents. They have fallen off substantially. In fact, we haven't had a significant one in a couple of months, so it's really, really helped that. And perspective, which benefits of mindfulness is most important to you right now? I mean, the better conflict resolution. I use that one more than I did before I got a new boss. But when I have to have that conversation, and I have worked with him for several years and I already kind of know the demeanor. So the visualization and the conflict resolution really resonate with me there. And then, of course, improved focus helps me manage task and time management better. And then just the mental check-in helps me kind of remember what do I know right now, right? What do I got to work on? And then the biggest challenge, I think we've got to call it out for what it is. There are challenges. We get stuck and finding even 2 minutes sometimes can be really, really tough. Or forgetting to do it during the busiest hours. B is my most challenging, or C, quieting the mind. And the goal of the mindfulness is when it's not really to quiet your mind, it's just to be reflective enough to see that your thoughts are running away and addressing it. That's the muscle that you're really starting to work there, or feel like you're not seeing immediate results. And then commitment, true or false. I feel confident that I can maintain small 2 minute mindfulness habits for the next 7 days. And I'll be completely honest. I mean, I try, but I forget. I forget. I need to set reminders sometimes, and I get mindfulness reminders on my phone. So that really helps me to stop, turn around, and take a look. But that's it for you guys. I'll open it to you guys. I feel like I've been talking at you, or I've been talking too fast. I'll open it up to you guys. Feedback, do's, don'ts. What concerns you the most? Where are you at?
Well, Troy, this is a great presentation. I just got out of Stephanie Powell's presentation and she was kind of saying a similar thing, but I wanted to share something. As a female and getting older, obviously a lot of us know about menopause. I don't know if you do, if you don't, but anxiety levels just go through the roof. And with the job that we do right now, just adds to that. So I just recently did a project and it's mindfulness about what you do, the things you choose to do day in and day out, right? So they said, what do you watch during the day? And as we work from home, we deal with white noise, whether it's a fan running or a TV in the background. But I have three favorite shows I watch. Everybody Loves Raymond, Friends, and the Jeffersons. And they told me before I watch that, try to do calming things, listen to low tone voices. I have the Calm app, and then go watch what you normally watch in your daily routine. When I did that, I noticed that in these shows, even though I'm laughing, I'm like, why are they always screaming? They're always fighting. There's so much anxiety. There's no solution. There's always problems. And I realized as I'm watching them or after I watch them, I have anxiety. I'm just not able to focus.
Is that me, or I lost her?
Yeah, I think she's off.
I think
I
she
think we lost
froze.
her.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was really good. That was good feedback. Well, to be complete, my wife and I, she's going through menopause right now, and that's a big deal. For being mindfully aware. She's a teacher. She coaches archery and a lot of other things, and we do. Sometimes we'll do this together too as a couple. Hopefully, she'll come back. Anybody else?
Please.
Am I on mute? I have to check if I'm on mute sometimes, even in Teams meetings, because it gets so quiet.
Oh, oh, okay. Well, we have so many questions. I I won't give you all of them because I think we're running out of time. But you mentioned that
Okay.
chronic stress affects focus and decision making. But in fast-paced corporate environments where stress feels unavoidable, how do you actually get somebody to stop and take a pause in the middle of a chaotic day? What
Yeah,
is that?
that's I get it. That's what does it realistically look like? I mean, that's the issue at hand, right? I mean, because just take a breath sounds simple until you're 3 hours deep into back-to-back meetings with a deadline breathing down your neck, or you've got to get this or that done by tomorrow morning. And so here's how I think about it practically. You're not stopping everything, right? You're using the transitions that already exist. We already have those existing in our day. The meetings are already there. I actually try to I'm going to go back and put mindfulness blocks in there, but the 2 minutes before a meeting starts or when you're waiting for people to join the call, that's dead time anyway. And so I started treating it like the reset window, the opportunity. And I'll sit there and go, oh, I got time for my mindfulness. And I'm not scrolling my phone. And it doesn't really add anything to your schedule. I mean, it's already there. And in the fields that I work in, those pre-task planning moments before starting a job to check in, that could be, that's mindfulness in a hard hat, basically. That's be life and death for those guys out there. Sometimes just making a poor decision, you could not end up good. It could be really, really bad in some of those. So, and it kind of translates over to the corporate world. You don't have to, it doesn't have to look like meditation. It just has to be intentional.
Thank you so much for your insights. Those are really great. A big thank you to Troy Ellis for his time and all of his great tips today. That concludes our presentation, Mindful Mastery, Stress Proofing Your Corporate Grind. Thank you to all of our attendees for joining us. We hope you found the conversation inspiring. If you enjoyed this talk, please see the chat to vote for your favorite presentations. In the chat, you can see that we have a link for the Clifford Blizzard Award for Passionate Care and Creative Excellence. Our next talk coming up is at 10:35.
Thank you.